So, I'm not gonna waste your time in this video. You came here because you quickly want to know 3 hacks that will boost your productivity. Now, these 3 hacks are quite easy to remember, they're quite easy to apply, but before we start, I think it's very important to first talk about a very important factor which will affect not just your productivity as a whole, but pretty much your whole life. And I'm talking about a mission statement. Now, if you watched the video earlier, you probably noticed that there is actually a mission statement which is written in this small little whiteboard I have just behind the camera. And this mission statement is pretty much just a summary of what at the moment you believe your goals are. So pretty much it's a way to be able to easily describe what your main aim at the moment is, what your main mission. And what I wrote is pretty much related to wanting to help people through these videos by helping them boost their productivity and other stuff, such as living in a life which is beneficial not just to oneself but also to the world as a whole. But I'll keep it simple. You can make it as easy as you want. It can be simply one sentence. It can be a whole paragraph. But usually what happens is you start with a bigger paragraph, and then as time goes on, you will trim it down into just one sentence. So that is the main fundamental thing, to have a precise objective, a mission statement, which, in case you don't know, is pretty much what all the biggest businesses have. They all have a mission statement, which is pretty much helps them in business decision making, because it pretty much is some sort of guide for them when they grow as a business, etc. Now let's move on to these 3 key factors. So the first hack is to remove the unnecessary. Now, to explain this concept, which does seem quite easy at hearing it for the first time, let's think about 4 different quadrants. So we have quadrant 1, which is stuff that is urgent and important. Quadrant 2 is stuff that is not urgent but important. Quadrant 3 is stuff that is urgent and not important. And quadrant 4 is stuff that is not important and not urgent. Now, straight off the bat, I already imagine that you probably already know what stuff that is urgent and important and stuff that is not urgent and not important is. So for example, stuff that is in the 4th quadrant and not urgent and not important could be watching TV, playing video games, that sort of stuff, which you could be doing for enjoyment, but you will always tend to do a smaller amount of it and to limit yourself with it. While stuff that is urgent and important would be stuff work related that you want to do immediately. Now, we'll be focusing most on quadrant 3, stuff that is urgent but not important. And this type of stuff is stuff that at first glance seems like you want to do it and it seems like it's productive, but in reality it isn't. Now, one of the main examples could be checking your mail. Now, a lot of people hearing that will think that I'm crazy, thinking that that is not important. And although you may miss a couple of important things not looking at your email, 70% of it you will hear from other sources. Now, this doesn't mean that you won't have to look at it at all, but don't treat it as if it's an urgent task. Take your time with it. You don't have to check your mail every hour. You can even have simply 2 times a day to check your mail. This obviously depends on how busy you are. If you don't have a job which is related to that, then you can even limit yourself to simply once every day or even once every 2 days. The main thing to remember here is that activities like this do not require that much mental and physical effort, and you can even do it while you are on a rest or on a break. Now, to separate stuff that is important from stuff that is not important, we'll have to go back to what we said earlier about the mission statement. Now, stuff that aligns with your mission statement is the stuff that will be important and the stuff that you will put first. This is what we defined earlier as activities in the second quadrant, the stuff that is important but not urgent. Now, what we want to try and do in the long term will be to try and decrease significantly the amount of activities in a first quadrant which are urgent and important by doing activities as soon as you can. So the moment they give you a task, you should do it immediately, and this will help make activities not necessarily urgent. So pretty much to summarize this in one phrase, it's put first things first. However, sometimes you could actually be doing an activity which seems productive at the moment but actually isn't. Now, it is possible to do an activity so early that in the long run you won't actually need to do that. Now, for example, if you have a test in 2 years, which is kind of an exaggerate thing because I don't think you would ever know that you're in an exam in 2 years, but imagine you start like revising for it now, 2 years time you won't remember it. So the important thing is to do activities that you know will have a long run effect. Now, if you know that you have an exam in 2 years and you want to start studying, then maybe start by writing stuff down, so the closer it gets to the exam and you'll need to remember stuff, you've already done the tasks which are important for the long term, and so you'll do the stuff that's important for the short term, so the studying and the memorizing. Another example is doing stuff for other people. Now, I do a lot of stuff for other people which does not benefit me in any true way, and I'm not saying that you should never do this, but consider that this stuff shouldn't be urgent. It's not important and not urgent, and if you have the time to do it, go ahead. But as we refer back to what we were originally talking about, the mission statement, the stuff that should always be important is the stuff that is for your long-term goals and stuff that regards your mission statement. Now, the second hack is to give yourself timed, limited minutes to do an activity. Now, I kind of paused there because I pretty much just meant a little amount of time. So pretty much you can just use your computer or simply use your phone, and when you do get up to an activity which is important, you give yourself a limited amount of time to do it. Now, that may sound quite crazy, but you won't believe how more productive you can become once you give yourself that sense of urgency, even when the activity, as we said, is important but not quite urgent yet. Giving yourself a time will pretty much make you do this activity quicker. This is really easy for students who are working on timed questions if they're preparing for exams. Doing past papers and past questions, giving yourself a time will help you in the long run be able to get rid of tasks quicker and being able to be more efficient in exams in the long run. But this isn't just exam questions and for students. If you have reports to do for your work, giving yourself a limited amount of time, even if we're talking about days, not just hours, will help you get rid of the activity quicker, so it becomes less stressful and it becomes less urgent if you cram it down to the last days before it's due. I know a lot of people who pretty much just delay their work and they procrastinate a lot, and this will just affect your mental health negatively, and this in the long run, especially when you get older, could be quite problematic. So what I'm doing right now is, a lot of times I pretty much do work as soon as it is assigned to me. So pretty much if I get homework from college, I'll do it the day it's given to me. Now, as I've kind of just stated, earlier, it is important to not just give yourself a specific short times to do your exercise in terms of days, but also in terms of hours and minutes. If you have a simple task which can be quite hard, but something you can get rid of in one day easily, give yourself 1 hour, give yourself 30 minutes to do it, and time those minutes. Now, it is possible that sometimes you won't be able to do it in that amount of time, but it is important to do it anyway and finish it off, and you'll learn sooner or later to do it in that span of time that you give yourself. Obviously, don't give yourself impossible times, like don't expect to do a whole presentation in 20 minutes, but maybe give yourself a specific time to make every slide. So 5 minutes per slide, depending on what your presentation is on. The final and third hack is what I believe to be the easiest yet the hardest, and this is to turn off your phone. Now, I can already hear the excuses, and to be fair, I do know a lot of people that have to do work on their phones, or so they believe. I know a lot of people who have this same complaint, and 90% of these people all own a computer where they can pretty much do the same stuff that they can do on their phone. So I would suggest to use a computer over your phone because it's less addictive. And how exactly do you avoid using your phone? You can do it by strengthening your discipline, but it will be hard because nowadays we all have reduced attention spans. We're all addicted to this shit. And so the best thing to do, in my opinion, is to turn it off and put it in a place where it's harder to get back from, so it will take some sort of physical or mental effort to get it back, so you are less motivated to grab it and to get distracted. Now, what I do is I turn it off, I put it under my bed, so I am more motivated to do my work, and if I really want my phone back, I'll have to put my arm under the bed, grab it and turn it back on. That extra effort can actually help you so much when it comes to not looking at your phone and not always wanting to turn it on and just turn it back off just for the sake of having it. And you won't believe how much I believe my days have changed since I've started doing this activity. It's just a matter of always remembering to do it. I found it easier when it was summer and I wasn't going to college, but I found it harder for college because it's sometimes stressful turning it back on when I really need it. But when I have a break from lesson or during lesson, when I've finished using it, I'll just turn it off and put it in my bag where it's harder to access because I'll have to unzip it, take it out and then turn it on. I also recently made a video talking specifically about reducing your phone time, and I made that video maybe like 1 month ago, 2 months ago. You can see it because I haven't posted that often these past weeks, so it will be one of the latest videos. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed and keep a strong mind and stay like a lion.